navigation satellites, introduction, open with a storytelling hook. Imagine traveling across the world without maps, compasses, or satellites. How would ships, airplanes, and even your phone find their way? Introduce the concept of navigation satellites, artificial satellites that provide positioning, navigation, and timing PNT services worldwide. Mention that for main global systems dominate. Today, GPS, USA, Glonass, Russia, Galileo, European Union, BeiDou, China. Brief note on their importance for everyday life, smartphones, aviation, military, shipping, agriculture, and even banking systems. The birth of satellite navigation. Imagine it's the year 1957. The Cold War is at its height. The United States and the Soviet Union are locked in a race for technological supremacy. Then, on October 4th, the Soviet Union launches a small, beeping sphere into orbit. Sputnik 1, the world's first artificial satellite. To the average person, it was just a shiny ball circling Earth. But to scientists and military planners, Sputnik was a revolution. For the first time in history, a man-made object was sending signals from space. The Doppler discovery. American scientists listening to Sputnik's radio signal noticed something remarkable. As the satellite passed overhead, the frequency of its signal shifted higher as it approached, lower as it moved away. This was the Doppler effect in action, the same principle that makes an ambulance siren change pitch as it drives past. From this discovery came a powerful idea. If you know where a satellite is, you can calculate your position on Earth by analyzing that frequency shift. In other words, satellites could become celestial beacons for navigation. The first experiments. TRANSIT. U.S. Navy quickly seized on this concept. Submarines carrying nuclear weapons needed precise positioning, even deep under the ocean. Traditional navigation methods, stars, compasses, and surface maps weren't enough, so, in the early 1960s, the Navy developed the transit system, the world's first operational satellite navigation network. It consisted of a handful of satellites in low Earth orbit. By tracking the Doppler shift of signals from these satellites, submarines could determine their location. It wasn't fast. Sometimes calculations took hours, and it wasn't global. But it worked. For the first time in human history, navigation was no longer limited by the horizon, the weather, or the stars. It came from space. Limitations and the need for improvement. Despite its groundbreaking nature, transit had limitations. Its satellites were few in number, so coverage was inconsistent. Accuracy was measured in hundreds of meters, not the precise meters or centimeters we expect today. Airplanes, ships, and even ground forces needed something better, a system that could provide continuous, global, all-weather navigation. The military also wanted precision guidance for missiles and aircraft, something transit could not provide. This need laid the foundation for the next great leap. The creation of global navigation satellite systems, GPS, Glonass, Galileo, and BeiDou. But it all began with Sputnik's simple beep, a sound that changed how humanity would forever find its way across land, sea, and sky. Imagine it's the year 1957. The Cold War is at its height. The United States and the Soviet Union are locked in a race for technological supremacy. Then, on October 4th, the Soviet Union launches a small, beeping sphere into orbit. Sputnik 1, the world's first artificial satellite. To the average person, it was just a shiny ball circling Earth. But to scientists and military planners, Sputnik was a revolution. For the first time in history, a man-made object was sending signals from space. The Doppler discovery. American scientists listening to Sputnik's radio signal noticed something remarkable. As the satellite passed overhead, the frequency of its signal shifted higher as it approached, lower as it moved away. This was the Doppler effect in action, The same principle that makes an ambulance siren change pitch as it drives past. From this discovery came a powerful idea. If you know where a satellite is, you can calculate your position on Earth by analyzing that frequency shift. In other words, satellites could become celestial beacons for navigation. The first experiments, TRANSIT, U.S. Navy quickly seized on this concept. Submarines carrying nuclear weapons needed precise positioning, even deep under the ocean. Traditional navigation methods, stars, compasses, and surface maps weren't enough, so, in the early 1960s, the Navy developed the transit system, the world's first operational satellite navigation network. It consisted of a handful of satellites in low Earth orbit. By tracking the Doppler shift of signals from these satellites, submarines could determine their location. It wasn't fast. Sometimes calculations took hours, and it wasn't global. But it worked. For the first time in human history, navigation was no longer limited by the horizon, the weather, or the stars. It came from space. Limitations and the need for improvement. Despite its groundbreaking nature, transit had limitations. Its satellites were few in number, so coverage was inconsistent. Accuracy was measured in hundreds of meters, not the precise meters or centimeters we expect today. Airplanes, ships, and even ground forces needed something better, a system that could provide continuous, global, all-weather navigation. The military also wanted precision guidance for missiles and aircraft, something transit could not provide. This need laid the foundation for the next great leap, the creation of global navigation satellite systems, GPS, Glonass, Galileo, and BeiDou. But it all began with Sputnik's simple beep, a sound that changed how humanity would forever find its way across land, sea, and sky. GPS, America's global positioning system, by the late 1960s. The United States military knew that navigation was the future of warfare and global communication. The transit system had proven the concept, but it was slow, limited, and not accurate enough for high-speed aircraft, missiles, or precise civilian use. The U.S. Department of Defense envisioned something far more ambitious, a global, always-on satellite navigation system that could guide ships, aircraft, ground forces, and eventually, anyone on Earth. That vision became GPS, the Global Positioning System. Origins of GPS. The program began in the 1970s, with the U.S. Air Force leading development. Engineers designed a constellation of satellites in medium Earth orbit, far higher than transit, that could continuously broadcast highly accurate timing signals. The first experimental GPS satellite, known as Navstar 1, was launched in 1978. Over the next 17 years, more satellites followed, and by 1995, GPS was declared fully operational. From the start, GPS was a military tool. It allowed the U.S. to know the exact location of submarines, aircraft, tanks, and troops, anywhere on Earth, in real time. But soon, its value for civilian life became undeniable. How GPS works. At the heart of GPS is a simple concept. Timing. Each GPS satellite carries atomic clocks, accurate to a billionth of a second. These satellites broadcast a continuous signal, containing the exact time and the satellite's position in space. A GPS receiver in your phone, car, or airplane listens for these signals. By calculating how long each signal took to arrive, the receiver determines how far away each satellite is. With distance from at least 4 satellites, the receiver can pinpoint its location anywhere on Earth, using a process called trilateration. The genius of GPS is its reliability. With around 31 satellites orbiting at 20,200 kilometers, there are always at least 4 satellites visible from any point on Earth, day or night, in any weather. Evolution of GPS satellites. Over the decades, GPS satellites have gone through multiple blocks or generations. Block 1, 1978 to 1985. experimental satellites proving the concept. Block 2, 1989 to 1997, the first fully operational satellites. Block IIRM, 1997 to 2009, improved resilience. More signals for civilians. Block IIF 2010 to 2016, better accuracy, longer lifetimes. Block 3 2018 present, the most advanced generation, offering stronger signals, improved security, and accuracy of less than 30 centimeters. Some examples of modern satellites include USA 319, USA 320, and USA 327. These Block 3 satellites are built to last 15 years and can resist jamming and spoofing attempts. Civilian versus military GPS. GPS has two levels of service. Standard Positioning Service, SPS, free for civilians worldwide. Accuracy is typically within a few meters, good enough for cars, smartphones, and mapping. Precise Positioning Service, PPS, encrypted for the US military and its allies. Accuracy is much higher and more resistant to interference. In the early years, the US even degraded civilian accuracy with something called selective availability, to ensure enemies couldn't use GPS against them. This was turned off in 2000, unlocking GPS for global civilian innovation. Civilian applications of GPS today. GPS is everywhere. You may not notice it, but it silently guides nearly every aspect of modern life. Transportation. Airplanes use GPS for precise routes and landings. Ships use it for navigation at sea. Cars rely on it for turn-by-turn directions. Mobile devices. Every smartphone is a GPS receiver, enabling maps, ride-sharing, delivery services, and even social media check-ins. Emergency response. GPS allows ambulances, fire trucks, and police to reach emergencies faster. Agriculture. Farmers use GPS-guided tractors for precision planting and harvesting, increasing efficiency. Banking and finance. Global stock exchanges and ATMs rely on GPS timing signals to synchronize transactions. Telecommunications. Mobile networks depend on GPS clocks for timing. Science and research. Earthquake monitoring, weather balloons, and climate research use GPS. In short, GPS has become as fundamental to modern civilization as electricity or the internet. Military. Applications of GPS while civilians enjoy its benefits. GPS remains a critical military tool. Missile guidance. GPS allows for precision strikes, reducing collateral damage. Troop navigation. Soldiers carry GPS receivers for accurate movement. Air and sea operations. Aircraft carriers, submarines, and jets all rely on GPS. Time, synchronization. Secure communications and encrypted networks depend on GPS clocks. In conflicts from the Gulf War to modern operations, GPS has proven to be a force multiplier. Challenges to GPS despite its success. GPS faces challenges. Vulnerability to jamming. Adversaries can block signals with radio interference. Spoofing. Fake GPS signals can mislead receivers. Space threats. Anti-satellite weapons could target GPS satellites in future conflicts. This is why the US continues to upgrade its satellites with stronger signals and explores backup systems like ground-based navigation and multi-constellation receivers. Global impact. One of the most remarkable aspects of GPS is its openness. Despite being a US military system, it was made available for free civilian use worldwide. This decision unlocked billions of dollars in innovation and created industries that we take for granted today. From helping a farmer in Africa, to guiding a plane over Europe, to getting you safely to a new restaurant in your city, GPS is silently at work. 24/7. Glonass, Russia's global navigation system, while the United States was developing GPS during the Cold War. The Soviet Union was determined not to be left behind. The superpowers were competing not only on Earth, but also in space, and navigation satellites were a strategic necessity, just as the US military needed GPS to guide its forces and weapons. The Soviet Union needed its own independent system. This would ensure that, in a time of conflict, it would never have to rely on a system controlled by its rival. That system became known as Glonass, short for Navigaciónная Sputnikovaya Sistema, or Global Navigation Satellite System. The birth of GNSS development of Glonass began in the 1970s under the Soviet Union's space program. The first Glonass satellite, Cosmos 1413, was launched in 1982. Over the next decade, more satellites were placed into orbit. By 1995, Glonass reached full operational capacity with 24 satellites covering the globe, a remarkable technological achievement that matched America's GPS. For the Soviet Union, Glonass was not just about navigation. It was about military independence, global prestige, and space dominance. The collapse and decline, however, history intervened. In 1991, the Soviet Union collapsed. Russia faced severe economic hardship, and funding for Glonass dried up by the late 1990s. The constellation had decayed. Many satellites failed, and global coverage was lost. At its lowest point, only a handful of satellites remained active, offering patchy service mostly over Russian territory. It seemed Glonass might fade into history. But then came a revival. The revival of GNSS in the early 2000s. Russia made the modernization of Glonass a national priority. Under President Vladimir Putin, the program received billions of rubles in funding. By 2011, Glonass was restored to full global coverage with 24 satellites. Today, the constellation is continually upgraded with new generations of satellites. Russia-made Glonass signals free for civilian use worldwide, much like GPS, encouraging international adoption. How Glonass works. GNSS operates similarly to GPS, but with some key differences. The constellation consists of 24 satellites orbiting at 19,100 kilometers in medium Earth orbit. The satellites are arranged in 3 orbital planes, ensuring full Earth coverage. Each satellite transmits timing and positioning signals using different frequency bands compared to GPS. This frequency diversity can actually improve accuracy when GPS and Glonass are used together, making combined receivers more reliable in challenging environments like cities or mountains. Glonass satellites. Over time, several generations of Glonass satellites have been launched. Glonass Uragan, the first generation, launched from 1982 to 2005. Glonassum, introduced in 2003, featuring longer lifespans, 7 years, and better accuracy. Examples include Cosmos 2527 and KOSMOS-2528. Glonass, launched from 2011 onward. These are lighter, have lifespans of up to 10 years, and transmit new civilian signals. Glonass K2, future, even more advanced, with improved clocks and stronger signals. The most recent launches from the Plesetsk Cosmodrome in Russia keep the system modernized. Civilian applications of GNSS. Though it was born as a military project, Glonass has many civilian uses today. Smartphones and navigation devices. Many modern devices combine GPS and Glonass, giving users faster and more accurate fixes. Aviation and shipping. Russian and international aircraft and ships use Glonass as part of navigation systems. Agriculture, just like GPS. Glonass is used in precision farming across Russia's vast farmlands. Arctic exploration. Glonass is particularly valuable in high northern latitudes, where GPS signals can be weaker. Russia also requires certain industries, such as trucking and passenger transport, to use GLONASS enabled tracking systems for safety and regulation. Military importance of GNSS for Russia. GLONASS remains a vital military asset. It enables precision guidance for missiles, bombs, and drones. It supports military communications, troop movements, and aircraft navigation. Unlike GPS, which is controlled by the US, GLONASS ensures Russia retains sovereignty over its navigation capability, independent of foreign systems. In conflicts, relying on GPS alone could be risky. With GLONASS, Russia guarantees redundancy and control. Challenges and criticism. Despite its achievements, GLONASS faces challenges. Satellite lifespan. GLONASS satellites historically last shorter than GPS ones, requiring more frequent replacements. Funding, economic sanctions, and budget pressures sometimes slow upgrades. Accuracy. GLONASS generally provides slightly less accuracy than GPS alone, though combined. GPS plus GLONASS receivers outperform either system alone. Nevertheless, Russia continues to invest heavily in GLONASS, ensuring its place among the world's 4 major navigation systems. Global role of GLONSS. While GPS dominates globally, GLONASS is increasingly integrated worldwide. Most major smartphone manufacturers from Apple to Samsung include GLONASS compatibility. This gives users faster location fixes, especially in dense cities. GLONASS also strengthens Russia's partnerships. Countries friendly with Russia, such as India, have cooperated on navigation technologies, sometimes using GLONASS signals for regional services. GLONASS proves that the world of navigation is not dominated by a single nation. Just as GPS opened new possibilities, Russia's system ensures diversity, resilience, and competition. But Russia and the United States were not alone. In the 21st century, another major power, the European Union, decided to build its own independent navigation network, Galileo. Galileo Europe's navigation system for decades. Global navigation was dominated by the superpowers, the United States, with GPS, and the Soviet Union. Later Russia, with GLONASS. But Europe, with its growing economic and political power, faced a dilemma. It depended on foreign systems for a technology that was becoming as vital as electricity and the internet. The solution? Create a European system, independent of both Washington and Moscow. A system that could serve civilian users first, with unmatched accuracy and reliability. That system is Galileo, Europe's flagship satellite navigation project. Origins of Galileo. The idea for Galileo began in the 1990s, when the European Union and the European Space Agency recognized the risks of depending on GPS. What if GPS signals were degraded or switched off in a time of crisis? What if Europe's industries and airlines needed precision navigation that GPS or GLONASS couldn't guarantee? In 2003, the European Union officially approved the Galileo program, naming it after the famous Italian astronomer Galileo Galilei. Unlike GPS and GLONASS, which were built for the military first, Galileo was designed as a civilian-controlled system from the start, a point of pride for Europe. Constellation and coverage. Design calls for 30 satellites in total, 24 operational satellites plus 6 spares. They orbit at about 23,200 kilometers in medium Earth orbit. The satellites are arranged in 3 orbital planes, ensuring full global coverage. As of today, more than 28 satellites have been launched, with more being added to complete the system. This makes Galileo the largest navigation project ever undertaken in Europe, involving multiple nations, industries, and spaceports. How Galileo works. Like GPS and GLONASS, Galileo relies on satellites broadcasting timing signals from atomic clocks. But Galileo adds unique features that set it apart. Unmatched accuracy. Galileo aims for accuracy down to 20 centimeters with its high accuracy service. This is better than standard GPS, making it the most precise civilian navigation system in the world. Civilian control. Unlike GPS and Glonass, which are run by the military, Galileo is operated by civilian authorities under the European Union. Interoperability. Galileo is designed to work seamlessly with GPS and Glonass. Modern receivers can combine signals for maximum accuracy, resilience, Galileo satellites carry multiple atomic clocks, rubidium and hydrogen maser, to ensure reliability. Key satellite sum. Notable satellites include the Galileo Fox series, full operational capability. Example, Galileo Fox FM-15, launched in 2018. Each FOC satellite is equipped with advanced atomic clocks and powerful transmitters. These satellites represent Europe's cutting edge in space technology. Ground segment Galileo isn't just satellites. It also has a vast ground network to control centers in Germany and Italy, dozens of ground stations across the globe for monitoring and uplinking signals. This network ensures that Galileo operates 24/7, correcting errors and maintaining precision. Unique features of Galileo's Search and Rescue Service, SAR. Galileo is part of the International COSPA-SARSAT system. When someone activates a distress beacon on a ship, plane, or in the wilderness, Galileo's satellites pick up the signal and relay it to rescue services. Even more revolutionary, Galileo can send a return message back to the person in distress, confirming that help is on the way. Open service. Free signals available worldwide for anyone with a receiver. Encrypted Public Regulated Service, PRS, reserved for governments, emergency services, and the military. Provides extra secure navigation in times of crisis. Civilian applications. Galileo is already transforming life in Europe and beyond. Aviation aircraft can rely on Galileo for safer, more efficient flight paths and landings. Shipping, cargo ships and fishing fleets use Galileo for navigation and monitoring. Autonomous vehicles, self-driving cars depend on Galileo's centimeter-level precision. Smartphones. Many modern smartphones, including iPhones and Android devices, already use Galileo signals. Science and climate monitoring. Galileo helps measure tectonic plate movements, sea level rise, and climate data. Military and strategic value, though civilian in focus. Galileo also has strategic importance. The encrypted PRS ensures European defense forces are not solely reliant on GPS. In case of war or international tension, Europe would not risk losing access to navigation. This gives the EU greater geopolitical independence. Challenges and milestones. Like all space projects, Galileo faced obstacles. Budget overruns and political disagreements slowed early progress. In 2014, 2 satellites were accidentally launched into the wrong orbit, though engineers managed to adapt them for partial use. In 2016, Galileo began its initial services, with global coverage achieved. Despite these challenges, Galileo is now recognized as one of the world's 4 major navigation systems. Global impact. Galileo doesn't just benefit Europe, it benefits the entire world. Farmers in Africa using GPS tractors also receive Galileo signals. Airlines in Asia can combine GPS, GLONASS, and Galileo for enhanced accuracy. Emergency responders in South America can get faster confirmation of distress calls thanks to Galileo's SAR system. In short, Galileo has become a global public good, enhancing safety, efficiency, and innovation worldwide. Galileo shows how international cooperation can build a system for the common good. But while Europe was working on Galileo, another rising superpower was building its own navigation network, one that would become a symbol of technological independence and ambition. China's BeiDou system, *BeiDou, China's navigation system. At the dawn of the 21st century, navigation satellites were controlled mainly by the United States and Russia, with Europe beginning its Galileo system. But another rising superpower, China realized that relying on foreign systems like GPS was a strategic risk. In times of peace, GPS was free and open, but in times of conflict, signals could be degraded or cut off. For China, with its growing economy, global trade networks, and expanding military, this was unacceptable. China's solution was ambitious: build its own global navigation system, rivaling GPS and Glonass. They named it BeiDou after the Big Dipper constellation, known in Chinese culture as a celestial compass, guiding travelers for centuries. The birth of BeiDou. China's navigation journey unfolded in three main stages: BeiDou 2000 a 2007. Small constellation of 3 satellites providing regional coverage over China and nearby regions. It offered limited positioning but proved China could build its own system. BeiDou 2, also called Compass 2007 to 2012, expanded coverage across the Asia-Pacific, demonstrated China's growing space capabilities. BeiDou-3, 2012 to 2020, a full global navigation system, completed in July 2020, with 35 satellites in orbit. BeiDou became the 4th major global navigation system, alongside GPS, Glonass, and Galileo. Constellation design. BeiDou is unique among global navigation systems because of its hybrid constellation. MEO satellites, medium Earth orbit, provide worldwide coverage, like GPS and Galileo. GEO satellites, geostationary orbit, appear fixed over China and Asia, improving coverage in that region. IGSO satellites, inclined geosynchronous orbit, cover difficult areas and strengthen signals in Asia-Pacific. This design gives BeiDou extra reliability, especially in dense urban areas and rugged terrain across Asia. How BeiDou works. Like other systems, BeiDou's satellites broadcast signals containing their position and time. Receivers use trilateration to calculate user location, but BeiDou offers unique features. Two-way communication, short message service. Users can send short text-like messages directly via BeiDou satellites, even without cellular networks. This is especially valuable for fishermen, disaster victims, or soldiers in remote areas. High-accuracy services. BeiDou can achieve accuracy of around 10 centimeters, with precise point positioning PPP. This rivals or exceeds GPS in many regions. Interlinks. BeiDou satellites communicate with each other, reducing dependence on ground stations and improving reliability. Key satellites. Some examples of BeiDou 3 satellites include BeiDou 3 M21 and M22, launched in 2019. These satellites represent the advanced generation, carrying multiple frequency signals and robust atomic clocks. China continues to launch replacements and upgrades to maintain the constellations. Strength. Civilian applications of BeiDou is deeply integrated into Chinese society and increasingly across the globe. Transportation and logistics. Trucks and ships in China are required to use BeiDou for tracking. Disaster relief. BeiDou's short message service allows communication in areas cut off by earthquakes or floods. Agriculture. Farmers use BeiDou-guided machinery for precision planting and harvesting. Smartphones. Most modern phones, sold in China and many worldwide, already support BeiDou alongside GPS and Galileo. Infrastructure and finance. Like GPS, BeiDou provides critical timing for power grids, stock markets, and communication networks. Military importance of BeiDou for China's military. BeiDou is essential, provides independence from GPS, ensuring reliable navigation in any conflict, enables precision guidance for missiles, aircraft, and naval forces, supports operations in remote regions, including the South China Sea and along China's borders. BeiDou is more than a technology, it is a strategic shield for China's sovereignty. Global expansion and influence. China actively promotes BeiDou worldwide as part of its Belt and Road initiative, many countries in Asia, Africa, and Latin America adopt BeiDou for infrastructure, transportation, and agriculture by offering BeiDou integration in smartphones, drones, and vehicles. China ensures its system becomes a global standard. This not only boosts China's influence but also reduces reliance on US-controlled GPS, challenges and criticism like other systems. BeiDou faces challenges. Maintaining such a large constellation is costly. Some critics question whether global users will fully trust BeiDou due to geopolitical concerns. But despite this, BeiDou continues to gain traction internationally, thanks to its strong technical performance. The symbolism of BeiDou is more than just a satellite system. For China, it symbolizes technological independence, national pre-day seat at the table of global space powers. Just as ancient travelers once looked to the stars of the Big Dipper for guidance, modern China, and much of the world, now looks to BeiDou satellites orbiting high above. With BeiDou, China joined the select group of nations with global navigation systems. Today, we live in a world where 4 constellations, GPS, Glonass, Galileo, and BeiDou, together form the backbone of positioning, navigation, and timing services worldwide. The future of navigation satellites, from the humble beeps of Sputnik 1 to the vast constellations of GPS, Glonass, Galileo, and BeiDou, humanity has come a long way in mastering satellite navigation. But the story does not end here. In fact, we are only at the beginning of a new era. Next generation, accuracy future navigation satellites promise to push accuracy to levels once thought impossible. Today, your phone can usually locate you within a few meters. But with next-gen, atomic clocks, and multi-frequency signals, systems will soon achieve centimeter-level accuracy in real time. For autonomous cars, precision drones, and robotic delivery systems, this accuracy isn't a luxury, it's essential. Imagine cars driving themselves through crowded cities without human intervention, guided by satellites with near-perfect precision. Integration with other technologies. Navigation, satellites won't work alone. They are merging with other systems. 5G and 6G networks will complement satellite signals, especially in urban areas where tall buildings block the sky. Artificial intelligence will combine data from satellites, sensors, and maps to guide machines more intelligently. Augmented reality, AR devices will use satellite data to overlay digital directions directly into your field of vision. Soon, navigation won't just tell you where you are. It will guide you seamlessly through every step of your journey. Space and lunar navigation. Future isn't just on Earth. Humanity is preparing for missions to the Moon, Mars, and beyond, just as Earth has GPS. Scientists are designing lunar navigation satellites. NASA, EA, and China are all working on concepts like LunaNet and Moonlight. Satellite systems that will guide astronauts, rovers, and spacecraft across the lunar surface. Farther ahead, Mars colonists may one day deploy their own Martian GPS, orbiting satellites that allow settlers to navigate the red planet in this way. Satellite navigation will become a cornerstone of space exploration, resilience, and security as our dependence on navigation satellites grows. So do concerns about their vulnerability. Jamming and spoofing where hostile actors block or fake signals are already real threats. Future systems will use encrypted signals, inter-satellite links, and laser communication to protect users and ensure reliability. Some countries are also investing in backup navigation methods, such as terrestrial beacons and quantum navigation, to reduce dependence on satellites alone in the future. Resilience will be just as important as accuracy. Global cooperation or competition. Satellite navigation is both a tool of unity and a symbol of rivalry. On one hand, having 4 global systems ensures redundancy, giving people everywhere reliable service. On the other hand, these constellations reflect national pride and geopolitical competition. The future may bring new partnerships or new rivalries as nations expand their systems into space. The question is, will satellite navigation guide us toward cooperation or further competition? A world guided by the stars. Think of where we began. Travelers once looked at the North Star to find their way. Today, we look to constellations of satellites orbiting far above the future of navigation. Satellites is not just about knowing where we are. It's about enabling a connected world where cars drive themselves, planes fly safer, cities grow smarter, and humanity ventures confidently into space. From the first beep of Sputnik to the promise of lunar GPS, navigation satellites are our new guiding stars. They are the invisible threads weaving together the movements of humanity across Earth, across the oceans, and soon, across the solar system. And just as the ancient sailors once charted their course by starlight, the explorers of tomorrow will navigate by the satellites shining silently in the heavens. Conclusion: we began this journey with a simple radio signal from Sputnik 1, a faint beep that echoed across the Cold War sky. From that moment, humanity realized that the heavens could guide us, just as the stars had guided ancient travelers for thousands of years. Today, we live in a world connected by invisible constellations, GPS, Glonass, Galileo, and BeiDou, satellites circling high above, silently synchronizing our movements, our maps, our trade, and even our daily lives. Think of it, every journey you take, every plane that crosses the oceans, every ship that enters harbor, every text sent across continents, carries with it the precision of these celestial beacons. Navigation satellites are not just tools, they are the nervous system of our modern civilization, and tomorrow, they will do even more. They will guide autonomous vehicles, orchestrate smart cities, and light the path for astronauts exploring the moon and Mars. Humanity has always looked upward for direction, once to the stars, and now to satellites, our new guiding stars. As we move into the future, one truth remains unchanged. Wherever we go, across oceans, deserts, cities, or even across worlds, we will never be lost, because the sky itself will always show us the way.